And welcome to the Cardinals Nest 2.0. This is the show where we interview St. Mary's University alumni, coaches, and athletes to kind of relive when they were here at St. Mary's and catch up with what they're doing now. I'm Dean Beckman, the faculty athletics representative for the Cardinals. Donny Nadeau is the sports information director. He's my co-host. And Donny, today we welcome back virtually to St. Mary's University, Don Olson. He is certainly a good friend of yours, I know, a great friend to the university, somebody who was with St. Mary's for 32 years as a head men's hockey coach and also an athletic director for a long time in there as well. Donny, I know he's a good friend of yours, so I'll kind of let you finish off the introduction.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Coach and I talk once or twice a month at least, and wanted to get him on just to kind of relive some of the moments, maybe even talk about our walks to the bookstore and buying a pop at 9 o'clock every morning. And Coach, it's just great to have you on, and really looking forward to just kind of reliving your time at St. Mary's and maybe catching up on if you're actually really retired or if you got more irons in the fire. And I get the feeling it's probably the latter and not the former.
Yeah, it's great to be on and great to join you, Dean and Donny. It's been a kind of busy couple of weeks because I'm doing a couple of things that right now have been pretty time intensive. So serving as the commissioner of the Northern Collegiate Hockey Association, which is a Division III hockey conference that, Donny, I know you're familiar with. I was the athletic director at St. Scholastica for 9 years, and St. Scholastica is still part of the NCHA. Next year we'll be going to the MIC, but all private colleges throughout Minnesota. We're in 5 states, and but all private colleges through Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, and we're starting play this weekend after not having played since last March. Some of the schools have been playing through the fall a little bit, but very minimally. And we're starting into a 8-game conference schedule with both the men and women starting this weekend. So it's been a little hectic, a lot of questions and a lot of things trying to straighten out. And then been involved with we're living in Duluth still, where Scholastica is, and I've been trying to help out with the Youth Hockey Association, doing some player and coach development. And now that after a 6-week pause, we're back playing and so on. It's and people are anxious to squeeze as much into a short period of time as they can. It's been a little crazy the last few weeks, actually.
And Don, I just want to follow up on that a little bit because, you have been at all levels of collegiate administration and coaching and a lot of different places. You've seen a lot of different things, but really nothing prepares you, that even that long of a career prepares you for a global pandemic, does it? I mean, just when you thought you've seen it all, something else like this comes up.
Oh, absolutely. I think I said it to Donny not too long ago. I'm very glad I'm not wearing the hat of an athletic director right now. I mean, I've just got a single sport conference with men's and women's hockey, or be a multi-sport conference like the MIC with Dan McCain being the commissioner, and each of the sports trying to do what they, hope they can do and accomplish and so on. It's been really overwhelming for college athletics. And I think especially at the Division III level. I mean, Division I has been able to, start up football and get basketball going again in hockey, but the resources they have to do the things that you need to do. I mean, I was at a meeting at the Heritage Center here in Duluth a little bit ago. It was youth hockey related. I was driving back home, and one of our athletic directors called, who's the Finlandia athletic director. So they're in the Upper Peninsula, Michigan. And we were talking just briefly because they're starting play next weekend. But their athletes are back, and Michigan's guidelines right now, they've shut down all high school and youth sports. They're allowing colleges to participate, but they have to test 6 days a week in order to follow the guidelines of the Michigan State Health Department. So just the things that people are trying to deal with, and to have the opportunity for the student athletes to enjoy the sports they love and just get a chance to compete a little bit. I mean, we're only playing 8 games in our conference, and then maybe hopefully a playoff. And I think in the MIC, Donny, we talked about hockey's playing 7 games.
Yeah, and then
So
there's
very limited schedules, but a lot that
Yep.
has to go into it. It's pretty, it has been, it's a challenging time of college athletics, especially at the Division III level is pretty challenging. So,
unfortunately, when you were athletic director here, we didn't have a pandemic to deal with and or anything like that. But if you could just kind of go back and think about the progression of really the athletic director position. I mean, we were joking the last time that we talked that, you were the golf coach and you were the cross country coach and you were the hockey coach and you were the athletic director. And I mean, the position itself has changed so much from really when you started here at St. Mary's to when you left. The demands are more and just the responsibilities are more. Talk a little bit about your early days at St. Mary's and then kind of compare it to, how it was at Scholastica when you were just the athletic director there.
yeah, you're absolutely right, Donny. It's evolved so immeasurably, really. I mean, if you want to think about the athletic director piece, but it wasn't originally, but when I came just before, you became a student, we were playing hockey outside in Winona. We didn't have an indoor rink. We had an outdoor rink where the site of the indoor rink is now. We had an outdoor rink and our nearest indoor rink was in Rochester. I was just thinking about visiting with you, and I mean, we practiced but early in the year, and we had artificial ice, but it wasn't much of an artificial ice plant. It had to get awfully cold for us to make ice. But we as coaches and student athletes were responsible for flooding the rink. Originally we didn't have a Zamboni, and then we did. It was a well-used Zamboni. But and then we were lowest on the priority list going to Rochester. So we used to start practice at 11 o'clock midnight and practice till 1:30 in the morning. And then drive back to campus. And then, our student athletes, sorry about the sirens in the back.
Right.
In my home office here. What's going on? But it's so just, those kinds of things, really don't exist anymore. But no, you're right. I mean, it's virtually impossible to be a head coach. I was a hockey coach and the athletic director for a long period of time to do those two things, or be the head coach even of a say a major sport like hockey or basketball, and then be a head coach or even an assistant coach in another sport is not very common anymore. Most head coaches at the Division III level, it's full time. They may have some game management responsibilities or minimal responsibilities. Most cases they have a full-time assistant in a lot of those major sports, and to be an athletic director, I mean, things have changed so much there too. I mean, you need a business degree more than you need experience, business management type degree more than you need the experience of being a coach and understanding coaching, just because of the intricacies of it. And you need a bigger staff because of all the things that are expected from NCAA compliance and, just budgeting, and then what's expected on campus and all those kinds of things. So it certainly has evolved. I mean, even thinking about recruiting, I mean, when I started, and it's just, evolved, certainly in hockey, but when I started, we recruited just high school students. I'd drive to the cities of Rochester and watch games. Now your coaches are, flying to recruit in Texas, for crying out loud, or, going on 2-week recruiting trips where they're literally can put on 10,000 miles in a week just to go to all the venues where you can watch players play. So just that evolution, I'm not sure it's all good, but that's what it is. So, yeah, and just, the growth of sports too. I mean, so many athletic programs have grown. I mean, when I was at St. Mary's, we went from 12 sports to 22 sports. I think now Nordic is, I don't think, a varsity sport anymore, but at one point we had 22 varsity intercollegiate sports. But now you've started to incorporate some club sports too, which a lot of schools are doing to affect enrollment. I mean, one of the schools in our conference in hockey, Adrian, has 48 sports programs under their athletic director right now, between varsity and club sports. 48 under the athletic director. Over 65% of their student bodies involved in either varsity or club sports.
I'm glad I'm at St. Mary's and not Adrian.
Yeah.
I thought I was busy here.
Yeah. And only only one sports information director.
Yeah. One of the things you mentioned, and I remember the days of going to, to Rochester to practice. And, Dean, I can tell you a funny story that, as close of friends as I am with Don, he actually cut me my freshman year of hockey. So he ended my hockey career, and yet he's still my closest friend. So just throwing that out there. But I remember those days, and what I find interesting, we had Tom Rice on, a couple months ago, and as horrible as it was to do, it's one of those memories that you leave, and as you get older, you realize how special that time really was. As much as you hated it at the time, you look back on it like, that was really pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a couple interesting points there. I don't know if you remember this, Donnie, and I don't think you might have been there, Dean, and maybe you were, but when I retired in the summer, then I came back in the fall, and there was sports information, or in the fall for the celebration of the Hall of Fame and the student athletes, and Donnie helped, and Bob Beeble helped present me with some memorabilia and so on and so forth. And I spoke to when I spoke, I kind of spoke to the hockey players, and because I'm almost certain that's when John Redpath and Nate DeMars were being inducted, or maybe it was when I helped induct them. But I asked those guys of that era, because that's the era Donnie's talking about. When I first got there, John Redpath, who's in the Hall of Fame, was inducted that night, was a sophomore. And I asked his teammates to stand, and they were all there, all the guys that he played with, 6 or 8 of them. And they're so close. That's the one thing. The guys that played during that time, what they went through, the outdoor rink, the Rochester trips, they're the closest group of our alums that I'm aware of. They see each other all the time. They do things together all the time. Their families are close, and so on. But the other part of it is, I said to the players today, I said, you need to stand up and clap for these guys and thank them, because had they not done what they did and persevered the way where they did, and that's during your era too, Donnie, St. Mary's probably would not have hockey right now.
Right.
Probably would not have hockey right now, because I didn't realize at the time, but they strongly considered dropping hockey. But those guys just wouldn't give up, and there were 18 to 22 of them, and they just loved to play. And it didn't matter if it was outside and it was cold, or we had to shovel the rink before we skated, or take the bus to Rochester. They were just loved it so much, and were committed to it and committed to each other. And yeah, there's a lot of memories from those days that there's a lot of laughs had when we get together.
Yep.
Might have something to do with Dave Latecki, but
Coach, and obviously as a hockey coach, a lot of my questions are hockey related, but I mean, you start to think, and I know when we had Tom Rice on, it was the same thing. It's like, I remember they had to walk in their skates from the Toner Center basement, because that's where the locker room was, and they'd walk across to the rink, and that when it was outdoors, that's basically what they did. And it was like, that's what you did. Now I think that the players we have now are spoiled, because they don't realize what it was like. I really would like to hear you talk about what it was like to play, to have games that were played outside, because that was just before my time in terms of having games that actually were played outside. But what was that like, having to actually compete in a collegiate game on an outdoor rink?
Yeah. And it was my first year, and then they ended outdoor games, because I think we were the last ones left that were playing outside, maybe us and Gustavus. Then they built a rink, and we still didn't have one, and the MIC made a rule you couldn't play outdoors anymore. But you're right. I mean, we still practice there all the time. And yeah, I think we used to have, I don't remember, I'm not always great with chronology and where people fit in, but at one point we had a warming house next to the rink, but that unfortunately burned down right during the season. We had a fire and it burned down. And so therefore we just changed in the locker room, like you said, was the basement of the Toner Center, and we would walk over with our skates on. But it was challenging, because there were some days that were pretty cold. I mean, I remember, we should dig it out. I've got one here somewhere. I should share it with you, but there's a team picture of that group when, Brian McCarthy, Latecki, Redpath, and we took the team picture outside, and you could tell that it was windy, and you could tell that it was cold. just by how people were standing. And I think that kind of epitomizes, what they dealt with. But, I mean, you'd shoot pucks out of the rink, we didn't have glass holding it in, and, so you'd have to delay and get another puck out. And then there was a pool behind the compressor building, the outdoor pool that was there. And they used to, they'd try to shoot it over the compressor building and shoot them into the pool. And we'd go through like 500-600 pucks a year because they'd be flying all over. We'd find most of them they used to shoot at the library all the time. And it could be dangerous to drive your car by because the road went right next to the rink. So if, you were driving by and one of your teammates or friends was out on the ice at practice, there's a good chance a puck might sail by at a car. So yeah, it was, there were a lot of positives to it. And I think, again, that goes back to some of that team building stuff that, that has put those guys still so close together. And Tommy Rice was, in the middle of that. And I remember too, when we were putting up the bubble, I was thinking of this the other day, and I don't know why you think of these things at certain time. Maybe it was anticipating talking to you, but, we had the outdoor rink, we were using it. And in the fall, Jim Berg, who was the business manager for the college at the time, had heard about an air building that was used and was for sale. And I think it was like in Maine, and we could get a good deal on it. And I said, I told him in the fall, I said, if we can get it and get it here before the season starts and get it up, let's do it. But if it means putting it up in the middle of the year, let's not, because we could lose a couple of weeks of practice just by trying to put the darn thing up. Well, he went ahead and bought it, had it delivered over Christmas break.
Yep.
And we came back having no idea how to put this thing together, because it came in like 4 pieces, 4 sections, and it had to be zipped and put together. You remember that, Donnie?
Yeah, I sure
So we
do.
were out there in literally 10-degree below weather
That's
with
freezing.
these wooden pegs trying to intertwine them and zip this thing together. And we did it as a team. And I just remember Tommy Rice laying there on the tarp and, other people, and just, we got these extenders because it was so hard to, flip those wooden pegs and intertwine them and stuff like that. But, over the course of about a week, we got it together and turned the fans on, and it went up,
And then went down.
And it,
When it snowed. Then it went
Yeah.
down.
yeah, and it went up and down a couple times.
I remember Denny up there with a snowblower trying to get the snow off.
Oh yeah.
Well, and this, the next thing I want to do is, and I know how much you just love to talk about yourself, but a couple weeks ago, you were presented with a rather prestigious honor, and I want to personally congratulate you for that. The American Hockey Coaches Association, you got the John Snooks Kelly Founders Award, and that's that's one of the awards that your Coaches Association gives out that is certainly well deserved, but a great honor as well.
Well, thank you, Donnie. It's really always, I think, nice to be recognized by your colleagues, and very humbling at the same time. I mean, it's an award that's been awarded since the probably mid-'60s. You say the Hockey Coach Association on the men's side has 4 awards along those lines. And there's some neat parts to it. I mean, number one, when I was in college, I played against Snooks Kelly's teams. He was a coach at Boston College, so I remember that and knew some guys that played for him. And so that's kind of neat. And then the other part of it is there's several people who've also received that previously, who were good friends or mentors of mine, primarily like Jeff Sauer, the late Jeff Sauer from the University of Wisconsin, and Mike Sertich, who was a longtime coach at UMD, Lefty Smith, who was a coach at Notre Dame, I used to work summer hockey camps with out in Massachusetts. Some really, really neat people. And so that always, and to be recognized by your colleagues, it's very gratifying and greatly appreciated. And like I say, very humbling at the same time. So thank you.
Dean, I got to let you get a word in here.
Yeah, no, that's good. I was actually going to kind of follow up with that, Coach. And, that award that Donnie just mentioned, that was sort of for your contributions to hockey. Now let's kind of flip that around and let you talk about what hockey has sort of personally done for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's Yeah, that's something that's, I don't reflect on that often, Dean, but this gets you thinking about it a little bit. But
Mhm.
I think number one, it was I remember when I hired Nick Whaley as a baseball coach, and we had 150 applications. We narrowed it down to 5. I interviewed Nick first, and I went to Tony Piscatello at the time, who was our vice president. I said, let's not interview anybody else. Let's hire Nick. And one of the things that stuck out to me was just the conversation we had about, as a coach, being an educator, being a teacher, and this is your classroom. And so, to me, that's the biggest thing that it's meant to me, is just the relationships that I've been able to build with former players, former coaches, assistant coaches, and then coaching colleagues, which I've already referred to. Hockey, unlike some sports, I mean, basketball, every school plays hockey. There's basketball is all over the country. It's all over the world. Hockey is more regional. It's less regional now than it used to be, but so it's a smaller group of coaches, and it's a kind of a tight-knit fraternity in a lot of ways. And so I've gotten to meet so many really outstanding people through the sport. Had an opportunity to work with so many outstanding student athletes. And now I feel like I have a good relationship with a lot of them, some more than others. I refer to that early group of student athletes who we golf together. We come and play in the fall golf event at St. Mary's every year when we can, and that kind of thing. So that's special, but I think those relationships, and then is the biggest thing for me. And then just being able to give back to the game. I mean, I grew up playing a lot of sports, but hockey was the one that I had the greatest passion for. And I graduated from college. I thought I'd take a year off and go to law school then after that. And then I took a year off and started coaching, and kind of forgot about law school, and just continued to coach, and now trying to give back again by working with Duluth amateur hockey. It's I'm hoping to be able to go to my grandson's hockey game tomorrow night in the cities. So just seeing them involved in the sport too, and them having the passion for it, and so on. That's, I think, the biggest thing is the relationship, and just the ability to, I think, hopefully influence a lot of young lives, not just certainly about the sport, but not, beyond that, just the life lessons that come along with participating in athletics and being part of a group and those kinds of things. I have a lot of admiration for so many alums, or my former players, or our former players, who they're very accomplished, but just also when I see them with their families and stuff like that, what great family, men they are, and how they're giving back too. I mean, there's a lot of our former players who are coaching at different levels too, and that gives me a lot of gratification too. So I think those are probably the biggest things.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, Dean, that there's a Facebook page that was started by a hockey alum, and it's basically a hockey alum Facebook page. And I posted Don's the release on Don getting that award, and to read all of the people that commented and the things that they said. I mean, that page alone just really shows you how many people Don has touched and how many lives he's influenced. I mean, I could sit here and talk about stories, just personal stories that I have with him in the years that I got to work with him. And I mean, that started back when I was trying out for the sport that he cut me from. But I have so many fond memories, and I guess as we get ready to kind of close this show, Don, can you just talk a little bit about what you're doing outside of hockey? Because you're supposed to be retired. Are you doing anything retirement wise?
Yeah. Well, I do spend more time at our cabin, and we've got a cabin just off the North Shore, about an hour and 10 minutes north of Duluth. So we spend more time there than we used to, and I love that. I golfed a little bit more the last couple of summers. I haven't gotten any better. I'm trying to convince Linda that I need to buy a new set of golf clubs, but that's not going to help either. Yeah. And certainly Linda and I have been able to just do more things together. I mean, that's one of the things that, you certainly realize, and those who coach, is that, you know, that group of players on your team every year are another family that you have. And when there's 25, 26, 30 of them, and they're 18 to 24 years old and males, they sometimes demand a lot of your attention. And so sometimes I think, unfortunately, our families sacrifice a little more than is ideal, but certainly Linda and Jody and Chad, our kids, have understood that and supported it. So trying to spend a lot more time with family. Again, we've got two grandsons that live in Hopkins, and they're very involved in athletics and especially hockey, and really enjoy it. And, you know, spend a lot of time working on their rink in their backyard, which I was there about 2 weeks ago, and I said to Jody, you know, the boys, you know, they haven't been in a classroom since last March. And so their school at home, I mean, literally, shouldn't say this probably, but the oldest one will have his Zoom on his phone, put it in his pocket, put in his earbuds, and he'll do class out on the rink. You know, Jody, our daughter, said they're spending 30 hours a week out here, you know, so and they're getting outside. They're not just locked in the house, and they're enjoying it. And so that's important. And I've actually been doing quite a bit of reading too, a lot more than I've had a chance to in the past. So I've been reading about a book a week and enjoying that too. You know, some things a little deeper than CJ Box or John Sanford. And a little more meaningful, but also
Nothing wrong with those, though.
And enjoying those as well. Yeah.
All right, we're going to have to wrap up this conversation, but Don, thank you so much for joining us, our former men's hockey coach and athletic director. And even though I say former head coach, I think hopefully you know that you are a continued part of our St. Mary's family, and always will be. So,
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me, and it was a pleasure visiting with the two of you. So have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks. That's going to do it for Cardinals Nest 2.0. Thanks for watching.